Solo Leveling by Gong. Chapter 10 The Strange Raids. The following morning, after Jinho called him down, Jinwoo found a big van idling in front of his apartment building. Jinwoo was about to ask the driver not to block the entrance, when the window on the driver's side slid down. It revealed a face with a big grin. It was Jinho. "Please hop in, boss." Jinho stuck his hand out the window and tapped the side of the van. When Jinho had said he would pick Jinwoo up yesterday, Jinwoo had thought he'd be driving a sports car or something fancy. But this was an ordinary van, even if it was slightly too big to be ordinary. "Isn't your family super rich? It would be too noticeable if I used my car. I bought this for raids." No wonder the van's exterior was extra shiny. He bought a brand new vehicle. Jinho was on time picking Jinwoo up early in the morning, and he was driving a new car that wasn't too conspicuous. He was fully prepared. It seemed his expectations were just that high. As Jinwoo checked out the new van, Jinho misread him and began to worry. "Do you not like this kind of car, boss?" "No, it's good." Jinwoo got in the front passenger seat. "Here we go, boss." Jinho looked excited for their first day. He hummed as he gripped the steering wheel. They drove for a while before finally stopping in an empty lot. Squeak. "Here we are, boss." 8 other hunters were waiting for them at the meeting place. The gate behind them looked a little too small to be a C rank. Tack. Tack. The other hunters gathered around Jinwoo and Jinho as they got out of the van and closed the doors. You would be hard-pressed to find a normal person in the whole bunch. Many of them appeared as if they could barely walk. One person looked like a hospital patient. Another came across as an alcoholic. There was a teenage girl, which was unacceptable by association or guild standards. She seemed like a high school student. "Is it okay to work with minors?" "I consulted an advisor, and there shouldn't be a problem, legally speaking. No one hires minors because of potential issues if there's an incident." Jinwoo nodded. "That should be fine then." Only Jinwoo himself and Jinho would be entering the gates anyway, so there would be absolutely no chance of any mishaps. These people were here solely to meet a quota. 10 party members were needed in order to attack a C-rank gate. For that reason, Jinho had recruited these 8 hunters. Naturally, these individuals knew their purpose for being here very well. They were hunters who were licensed but couldn't work for various reasons, and were having a difficult time making a living. The majority of the applicants had been in that same boat. Jinho stepped forward. "I'm Jinho, the leader of this raid, and this is Hunter Jinwoo Sung, who will go inside the dungeon with me. All you have to do is wait for us near the gate." One of the hunters cautiously raised their hand. Will we really get paid 3 million won for doing that?" There was no need to hunt or even go inside the dungeon, and yet they get paid 3 million won per raid. It sounded too good a deal for simply putting their names on the record saying that they'd attended. It made the hunters feel uneasy, and they were wary of being involved in some kind of scam. It wasn't like Jinho was Robin Hood giving money to the poor. "The terms haven't changed." Jinho put authority in his voice. His eyes were serious. "But you can't reveal anything you see or hear here. As per the contract, if you break our non-disclosure agreement, the penalty is 10 times what you were paid." The hunters murmured to one another. What would those 2 be doing in the dungeon that required those terms? The other 8 were curious but couldn't ask. That was part of the confidentiality agreement. You may not inquire about events that occur in the dungeon. Jinwoo didn't want people to know his strength, so for the sake of his plan to become a guild master, Jinho had made sure the squad members would keep their mouths shut. The hunters murmured among themselves instead of asking Jin-woo and Jin-ho questions. But can those two even clear C-rank dungeons by themselves? They don't look like strong hunters. If they have the abilities to clear a C-rank gate on their own, wouldn't it be better for them to join a guild and raid higher-level dungeons? That's right. Even though they all had their doubts about Jin-woo and Jin-ho, no one mentioned wanting to withdraw from the squad. Of course not. The deal was too good. Jin-woo himself had once been lured in by 2 million won. The reason they were paying 1 million won more than Dong-suk had been willing to pay was due to the confidentiality agreement. The introduction had taken quite a while. Jin-woo checked the time and then nudged Jin-ho. We should get going. Yes, sir. Jin-ho clapped a couple of times to draw everyone's attention. Well, that should be enough of an explanation. I can't force anyone to stay. So does anyone want to quit? Of course, no one raised their hand. It was now time to enter the gate. Oh, boss, hang on a sec. Jin-ho hurried back to the van as if he'd forgotten something. He equipped himself and then waddled back. What are those? This is a full set of tempered armor by a master craftsman guild in Italy. If we're going into those dungeons by ourselves, I had to at least prepare something. Jin-woo rubbed his forehead. He felt uncomfortable just looking at the pieces of steel covering Jin-ho's body from head to toe. What's wrong, boss? Jin-woo couldn't take it any longer, so he drew the sword holster to Jin-ho's waist and dropped it on the ground. Huh? Jin-ho tried to pick it up, but lost his balance and fell to the ground. KRRRSSSHHHHH. Jin-woo tried to push his irritation down as deep as he could. Take that off before I say something I'll regret. Yes, sir. But when Jin-ho tried to get up, Boss! What now? Could you help me up? Jin-woo sighed deeply at Jin-ho's outstretched hands. Is this okay, boss? That's fine. They eventually agreed that Jin-ho could keep the helmet. Jin-ho leaped through the gate with a self-satisfied look on his face. Jin-woo plodded along after him. Once they were inside, the other hunters gathered near the entrance one by one. One of them vocalized their concern. They didn't seem all that strong to me. Another agreed as they watched the gate. I know. The first two obsolete party members having opened the floor, the remainder started freely speaking their minds. What's gonna happen if those two suddenly die in the dungeon? At least we got the advance, so... That's true. Wait, what did those two say their names were? Let's see. A man with a cast on his leg took out his phone and did a search. Jin-ho Yu Jin-woo Sung. Another hunter helped support him, though it could be because he looked wobbly, or maybe because the other was impatient and wanted to look over his shoulder at the search results. What? The squad leader is D rank? Everyone was shocked by that, but the next search result was even more shocking. And the other guy is E rank? Isn't a C rank dungeon dangerous for an E rank hunter to even enter? A D ranker and an E ranker raiding C rank dungeons? Is that even possible? Plus, the squad leader doesn't have any record of previous raids. Are those young people? This was basically a suicide mission. The association had a reason for enforcing a rule that required a minimum of 10 people to attack a C rank gate. Tisk tisk. A gray-haired man took out a cigarette. The blind courage of youth kills the youth. The smoke from his cigarette rose into the air. The hunters grew quiet. They felt uncomfortable because it seemed like they'd helped someone die. No one wanted to see anyone, even a stranger, perish before their very eyes, or, to be exact, inside the gate before their very eyes. But that wasn't all, was it? They also regretted the fact that there would be no more money. Even though they'd received their compensation in advance, They could have made a lot more if they were able to attend 18 more raids as per the contract. It was too bad, but the possibility of those two coming back was extremely low. Shouldn't we report this at least? You're right. And what if some of the blame falls on our heads? Right at that moment, VVVMMM. Jinwoo and Jinho exited the gate. Huff, huff, huff. Jinho was gasping for breath. They looked tired and were emitting steam. Oh, they escaped safely, at least. That's a relief. The hunters gladly welcomed back Jinwoo and Jinho. They assumed the two had run into problems at the entrance and barely managed to get away, given how briefly they were gone. But they were wrong. The hunters' expressions began changing when they heard someone shout, "TH, the gate is closing!" What? Everyone turned around to look. Oh my god! Look! Did they kill the boss? As the gate was wont to do after the boss was killed, this gate was beginning to disappear. The 8 hunters appeared stunned, but Jinwoo paid no heed to how they stared at him and spoke quietly. Where's the next one? It's about an hour from here, boss. Let's go! Jinwoo and Jinho started walking toward the van. Dumbfounded, the other hunters watched them go. Jinho realized his contractees weren't following and turned around. Let's hurry up, everyone! No time to waste. We've got 2 more gates to go. The hunter's jaws hit the ground. Poff. Ki-Won-yoon, the gray-haired man, didn't even realize the cigarette had fallen out of his gaping mouth. Those two are going for another raid after wiping out a C-rank dungeon by themselves? Ki-Won wasn't alone in this sentiment. The others were all thinking the same thing. Are they even human? Day 1. Gra. A bunch of zombies came after Jinwoo and Jinho. Boss, they're coming! Got it. Jinwoo maneuvered through the zombie horde with ease. Zombies. Heads hit the ground wherever he passed. The enemy count dropped quickly, and soon there was only one left. SHHHK. Gawk. The usual chime rang the instant Jinwoo stabbed the last zombie in the chest. Ping. You have leveled up. Jinho had stayed back, but was now applauding excitedly. Boss, that was amazing! Essence stones. Oh yes! Jinho took out a bag and started collecting all the essence stones. Suddenly, more notification alarms went off following the level up notification. Ping. You learn skill. Advanced dagger wielding LV.1. Ping. You learn skill. Fatal strike LV.1. Ping. The level of skill dash has increased. Jinwoo's face brightened. I have new skills? It had been a while. Jinwoo gladly called up the skill info screen. Skills. Passive skill. Unknown, LV, Max, Willpower LV.1, Advanced Dagger Wielding LV.1. Active skill. Dash LV.2, Murderous Intent LV.1, Stealth LV.1, Fatal Strike LV.1. He'd used the dash skill often enough that it had upgraded to level 2. And there were 2 new skills called Advanced Dagger Wielding and Fatal Strike as new passive and active skills, respectively. Skill, dash LV.2. Active skill. 5 mana required. When activated, your speed increases by 40%. When in use, your mana will decrease by 1 every minute. The speed's been upgraded. It had increased from 30% to 40%, and 10% could make a huge difference, since Jinwoo used this skill often. Skill, Advanced Dagger Wielding LV.1. Passive skill. 0 mana required. For daggers only. Your skill with a dagger has increased due to wielding it for a long time. Damage increased by 33% when equipping a dagger. More damage when wielding a dagger. Since he'd been using one as his main weapon up until now, he'd received a skill specifically for it. Now using other weapons won't be as effective. In other words, using a dagger was just that effective when attacking. This was a great advantage, because he didn't have any intentions of changing weapons for a while. He'd grown to like Kasaka's Venom Fang, since he'd gotten quite used to it. And the last one. Jinwoo scanned it with interest. Skill: Fatal Strike LV.1. Active skill: 70 mana required. For daggers only. You've learned how to attack more efficiently. You can locate an opponent's weak points and deal fatal damage. This was also a dagger-only skill, a way to attack efficiently. Now that he thought about it, he'd felt a similar feeling cleaning up that last zombie, as he'd felt when he delivered the final blow to Taesik. It was thrilling, so to speak. He could tell instinctively that the fight was over as soon as he stabbed them with the dagger. I guess that was stabbing a fatal spot. He couldn't believe that something he'd just so happened to succeed in doing had become a skill, and he could now use it whenever he wanted. Jinwoo's heart was racing. He didn't have many ways to attack other than swinging a dagger, so learning the skill Fatal Strike was like rain during a drought. Yes, he'd leveled up and learned some new skills. This was the best start ever. Day 2. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. Jinwoo's hunting speed had become much faster with the new attack skill. You have leveled up. It was one shot, one kill. Jinho's eyes got bigger as he witnessed magic beasts fall left and right after being struck with Fatal Strike. Was he hiding that skill until now? What were the limits of the boss's skills? Jinho was amazed, but at the same time, he was curious about Jinwoo's actual rank. Since he defeated C-rank hunters easily, he has to be at least a B rank. Jinho couldn't imagine dealing with the fallout if he asked Jinwoo directly, so the only thing he could really do was watch Jinwoo with his mouth open. But there was a problem with hunting so quickly. You cannot use the skill because you do not have enough mana. You cannot use the skill because you do not have enough mana. Jinwoo frowned. Again? To give himself more mana, he took out the mana potion he'd purchased from the shop. What's that, boss? Jinho was curious about the potion. It wasn't the first time he'd witnessed Jinwoo doing something amazing, but he couldn't help asking about the blue elixir he'd seen Jinwoo drink sometimes. This? Jinwoo stalled by reading info about the mana potion. Item: Mana Potion. Acquisition difficulty: E. Category: Consumable. Liquid that recovers mana. Recovers 500 mana when you drink it. You may keep it in the inventory, but it cannot be transferred to another person. The description said he couldn't give it to another person. What would happen if I shared this with someone else? Jinwoo's curiosity was piqued. He handed the potion over to Jinho, but the mana potion disappeared from Jinho's hand as quietly as it had appeared. Is this magic, boss? That's why I can't transfer it. Jinwoo had discovered something new. A non-transferable item would disappear if someone else touched it. Then what happens if they don't touch it? Jinwoo called up the shop and bought another potion, but it wasn't the mana potion he usually bought. This red liquid was a healing potion. The potion quietly appeared in Jinwoo's hand when he finalized the purchase. B-boss, that's amazing. The liquid changed to red. Jinho seemed to think it was some kind of party trick that the mana potion had disappeared and the healing potion had reappeared in its place. Jinwoo had changed potions for a simple reason. I want to find out if they'll work on other people. Jinwoo had Jinho lower his body. Open your mouth and look up. Out like this, boss? Perfect. Stay still just like that. Jinwoo tilted the bottle with the potion in it. Soon, The red liquid poured down Jinho's throat. SHHHWWWSH. Jinho's eyes widened. Huh? What is this, boss? I suddenly have so much energy. Jinho had been tired from having to carry a heavy bag for a long time, but the color returned to his face in an instant. Jinwoo was satisfied with the results. It works if I transfer the potion like this. This was good to know. If there were wounded hunters, he could treat them like this even without a healer. This could help Jinwoo a lot in the future. If you get tired, let me know. There's more where that came from. Jinwoo wasn't doing this just to be nice. If the butler slowed down because of fatigue, the hunter would slow down as well, which would inconvenience Jinwoo personally. That was Jinwoo's ultimate motive, but Jinho interpreted the act very differently. B-Boss, let's go! Jinho was moved, and with tears in his eyes, he followed behind Jinwoo, who had proven to him that he had his back, and was not only powerful but a class act. Day 3. Oh, please take this, boss. Jinho dug through his bag of weapons and pulled out a bank statement for Jinwoo. What's this? It's the money from selling the essence stones from the last 2 days. Jinwoo wasn't particularly thrilled that Jinho hadn't done this earlier instead of now, when they were in a dungeon infested with magic beasts. But that feeling didn't last long. Jinwoo stared at the number. 600 million won? That was the huge number written on the statement. You're giving me all the money from selling the essence stones? Jinho nodded. Yes, sir. I'm not doing raids because I need the money. Plus, you're the one who killed all the magic beasts anyway. How could I shamelessly ask you to share the rewards? Jinho's eyes sparkled like a child waiting to be praised. Wow, look at this kid. Jinwoo felt Jinho's attitude toward him changing since they'd started working together. Before, it had felt like Jinho was forcing himself to do whatever Jinwoo asked when they first met. But now, Jinho was acting more like a young colleague, one who followed around a senior he admired. He's got some cute sides to him. Jinwoo tried to hold back a grin. Can I really take it all? Do you think I Jinho you? And the kind of guy who'd say something I don't mean, boss? Jinwoo waved the statement in the air and laughed. Okay. Thank you for this. Thank you, boss. Jinho gave a deep, 90-degree bow. It was hard to tell who'd given money to whom. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, the squad members had gotten the hang of waiting around. They sat in small groups and enjoyed doing whatever they wanted as soon as Jinho Yu, the leader, and Jinwoo Sung, the psychic, entered the dungeon. The largest group usually played the popular card game Ghost Hunt. This time, 5 people sat in that circle. What number is this raid? Let's see. 3 the day before yesterday, 2 yesterday, and this is the second one today. So this is number 7. Are those 2 going to be okay raiding dungeons at this pace? Usually you'd take a week off after attacking a single dungeon. Nah, no need to worry about them. They don't even break a sweat. It's an additional 3 million won in our bank accounts every time. Good for us. By the way, it's your turn. Show your card. Oh, okay. Despite their crazy schedule with no breaks, Jinwoo and Jinho never looked tired. The other hunters didn't know that this was due to the power of potions. Thanks to the potions, they'd already cleared over 1/3 of the 19 raids they needed. Soon, the gate's black membrane rippled, and Jinwoo and Jinho jumped out. Ah, the leader's back. Let's get going. The hunters started tidying the areas they'd used. Please pack that up. And please wake anyone who's sleeping. Make sure you don't leave anything behind. The hunters moved in an orderly fashion. Even those who just woken bolted up and started getting ready to leave. "Let's move out!" Everyone was gradually getting used to these weird raids. At an office of the White Tiger Guild located nearby, it was early in the morning, but the department manager of the second administration team, Manager Sangnanan, was already furious. "Assistant Manager Hyun, the training of the new members begins tomorrow, and you still haven't booked a gate yet?" Assistant Manager Kitchell Hyun lowered his head. "I'm sorry, sir. There's a strike squad that always closes the bid whenever a C-rank gate appears nearby, even before we do anything." "What? Then you can pay them extra and take it. It's not like we don't have the money or the manpower." "What's the problem?" "I was going to do that, but... Hey! How dare you talk back like you did well?" The entire second administration team fell completely silent at Songmin's roar. It had been a while since he'd been this mad. What was the White Tiger Guild? It was one of the top 5 guilds in Korea. Its employees were the cream of the crop. Kitchell was an excellent employee who hadn't made any major mistakes since he joined the guild. Yet he couldn't book a single gate for the purpose of training new members? That was a major mistake. The first administration team managed the schedule for the hunters in the guild, and the second administration team that Sangin was in charge of recruited new members and trained them. "Pete, please look at this, manager," and Kitchell presented his laptop as he fought back tears. "Seriously?" Sangin was about to scream some more, but his jaw dropped at the numbers on the screen. 250 million won? There are idiots who'd pay 250 million won for a permit to raid a C-rank gate? He was rendered speechless. The maximum profit from a C-rank gate ran about 200 million won. Paying any more than that would be a significant loss. Originally, the price was about 70 million won, but they paid 250 million for the attack permit when I tried to buy it for 100 million won. Sangnan now understood why Kitchell had felt so wronged when he'd blown up at his subordinate. Who the fuck are these bastards? Taka, tak, tak. Sangnan typed quickly, and the search results soon came up. As Kitchell had said, a specific strike squad kept buying up all the C-rank gate permits for ridiculous amounts of money at an outrageous speed. The crazy bastards. This was the territory of the White Tiger Guild. Sangnan initially considered the possibility of another guild messing with them. No, there's no way. No other guild would pick a fight like this with White Tiger. Even the other guilds in the top 5 knew how risky it would be to challenge the White Tiger Guild, and how easily they could be crushed. It can't be another guild. Then who would it be and why? Sangin swallowed nervously, and then checked the information about the strike squad members. The leader's name was Jinho Yu. Never heard of him. Songmin's job was to recruit new members. Because of this, he knew every single freelance hunter's name, even if they had only the slightest bit of notoriety. But the name Jinho Yu was new to him. Putting him aside for now, he slowly scrolled down the list of members to see if he recognized any of them. There was only one name that sounded familiar. Ji Woo-sung? Ji Woo-sung? I've heard that name before. After some thought, he recalled the incident with the double dungeon that had happened about 2 months earlier. The White Tiger Guild had helped the association out at the time. "Kitchell, do you remember that double dungeon our men helped out with a couple of months ago?" "Of course I do. Didn't they say there were no beasts, but that there was one survivor? What was the survivor's name?" Kitchell had a good head on his shoulders. He wasn't remarkably smarter than average, but he had a superb memory. He didn't need to do a search. He responded immediately. "Jin Woo-sung, your rank hunter." I knew it. Songmin's suspicions had been proven correct. He knew instinctively that something was up. His gut had never been wrong before about this kind of thing. He shouted at everyone, "Stop what you're doing and scrape together any and all information you can on Jinho, you the D-rank hunter, and Jin Woo-sung the E-rank hunter. Right now!" Excellent employees exceed expectations in a pinch. Elites are called elites for a reason. Therefore, the information came pouring in. In truth, there was nothing particularly special about Jinho Yu. He was quite ordinary except for the fact that he was the second son of Myung-hun Yu, the chairman of Eugene Construction. But Jin Woo-sung was different. There were 3 incidents, including the double dungeon, that he came out of unharmed. Kitchell confirmed this. Yes, even though he is just an E-rank hunter. Jin Woo and Jinho had initially met at Jinho's first raid, and only those 2 had survived. The 2 of them had then formed a strike squad and were clearing dungeons at a terrifying speed of 2 to 3 dungeons per day. Something is fishy here. What are they doing? Well, wait. Rumor has it that Chairman Myung-hun Yu has been reaching out to S-rank hunters lately. Yes, there is that rumor. And Jinho Yu is his son. Chairman Yu is trying to form a guild. It was the most well-known secret in the industry. If that was true, Jinho's odd activities were probably related to that. Wait! A picture was forming in Songmin's head. It makes sense now. Kitchell gulped as his manager's eyes changed. Sang-in was confident. That bastard. He's a reawakened hunter. A reawakened hunter? Kitchell looked like a deer caught in headlights. Sang-in was completely sure. That's right. An E-rank hunter wasn't so different from an ordinary person. If there was a big incident, it wouldn't be far-fetched to say they'd just get killed. But Jin Woo had escaped safely from incidents where more than half the hunters had been killed each time. Of course, he might have been lucky, but that third incident? The one involving Tae-sik Kong from the surveillance team was a little different. According to the record, a C-rank mage hunter had defeated him with the help of a B-rank healer. That's absurd. A surveillance team member's main job is to fight other hunters. Unless Tae-sik Kong was stupid, he probably would have tried to kill the B-rank healer first, since they were a high rank but had no combat skills. But a C-rank mage hunter stopped Tae-sik by himself? A mage hunter was weak against combat hunters, especially assassin-class hunters. Unless Tae-sik had been caught off guard and completely ignored the B-rank healer. But he couldn't imagine a hunter with a 3-year career on the surveillance team making that kind of mistake. Someone else who was there with this C-rank Chiyul Song stopped Tae-sik. Sang-in didn't have any evidence, but he was absolutely certain about his suspicion. Jin Woo-sung had experienced a second awakening and become a high-rank hunter. Jinho Yu happened to find out about Jin Woo's abilities in a raid, so he was testing Jin Woo out for the guild his father was planning. Everything fit together with that theory. This is big news. Not a lot of people probably knew about Jin Woo's true value as a reawakened hunter besides Jinho. Those who knew Chairman Yu knew he wouldn't accept any random hunter. Furthermore, this was a matter of choosing the founding members. This was an excellent opportunity to poach talent from him. If this guy took down Tae-sik, a B-rank hunter, he is, at minimum, a B-rank hunter. The first thing Sang-in had to do was scout Jin Woo before he joined another guild, especially Chairman Yu's. The competition would be fierce when Jin Woo got his reevaluation. It didn't matter even if Jin Woo wasn't as strong as Sang-in assumed. There were only a few reawakened hunters, and media from all over the world liked to pay attention to them. No amount of money would be able to buy this kind of PR. It was an opportunity they couldn't pass up. If the hunter already signed a contract with him, there's nothing we can do, but that was unlikely. That he was still being tested in C-rank dungeons was evidence enough that it was doubtful. There was a high chance nothing was set in stone yet. That meant the White Tiger Guild still had a shot. There's no time to waste. Sang-in grabbed his jacket from the back of his chair and put it on. Kitchell, let's go! He didn't forget to take his right-hand man. Since Kitchell was the only one who could succeed his position in the future, Sang-in was especially tough on him. Kitchell blinked in surprise. Excuse me? Where are we going, Manager? And where? To recruit a new member. You're going recruiting yourself? Why? Is there a problem? Sang-in replied coolly before striding out of the room. He was followed by a bewildered Kitchell. How strange. This was Songmin's first time recruiting a new member personally, since he became the department manager 2 years ago.